This is 3XY's Drive program. Currently 18 degrees in the beautiful city of Melbourne. It's a cloudy and windy day, but that's Melbourne. As I promised you earlier, with us is Oscar Yildiz, an independent candidate for Moreland City Council, who has a very special relationship with his local Greek community. Oscar is on the other side of the line. Oscar, merhaba.
Kalispera, John. How are you?
Kalispera, I'm well, thank you.
That's the way.
Λοιπόν, as I was saying, you do have a special relationship with the Greek community of your area, and not only your area, I imagine, and not just now, but for a while. Do you want to talk to us about that relationship that you have in Greece and here in Melbourne?
Well, John, look, born and raised in Coburg, you couldn't have been raised in Coburg and not have a relationship with the Greek community. I mean, our neighbours in May Street in Coburg were Greek background, so I grew up with a lot of Greek boys, went to Coburg North. A lot of my Greek mates I went to school with are still my mates today. Coburg High was the same. And then in 1979, John, we actually moved to a place called Murray Bridge in South Australia and country town, 70 k's from Adelaide. And the first family we met there was actually a family with the surname Mavropoulos. And Johnny, Yanni and I, we still talk to each other. And the family, my brother knows his brother very, very well. And Paul comes over and actually stays at my brother's place. So we've had I've had an excellent relationship. And Moreland's got a very rich Greek community. And I've got to be honest with you, most of my mates are actually of Greek background, and they're guys who we visit as family regularly. So I've got a very good relationship here in Moreland, but then overseas, I've got friends and family that live in Greece, but, in particular Thessaloniki and Kastoria. I went there a couple of years ago and spent some time there, and even,
you were saying to me earlier, sorry to interrupt, Oscar, you went for a couple of days and you ended up staying much, much longer.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we landed in Thessaloniki with Sophia Kotanidis from the Castorian. She was president at the time of the Castorian Club here in Moreland, and we both flew over and we stayed more than I expected in Thessaloniki. I actually cancelled my flights and stayed longer in Kastoria because...
I'm not surprised.
Oh, my God.
I'm not surprised. Thessaloniki, the capital of Macedonia, is the most beautiful city of Greece, I would say, and to me, personally. Your name, Yildiz, in Turkish means star, yeah?
Yeah,
so
that's correct.
Well, I can call you Oscar Asteridis. How does that sound to you?
Well, that doesn't sound too bad at all.
Great.
And look, you mentioned before about my connections. I mean, my family, we've got Greek background people married into our family. So, my uncle's daughter is married to a Greek boy who we love. My own family, my brother's, soon-to-be son-in-law. We've got other Greek...
and you got a nephew playing with Panathinaikos in Greece, correct?
No, he played there.
Oh, he played, okay.
He's come back now. He's come back in Melbourne. But we do have, he went over to Panathinaikos and he's played at Heidelberg and I've got very, very good friends within the football fraternity here in Melbourne and overseas. You mentioned the
Castorian Association in Coburg. You've had a very close relationship with them, yeah?
Yeah, not just with the Castorian Club. We've got a number of Greek clubs here in Moreland, and we've got just off the top of my head now. We've got a number of clubs one in Albert Street, which I was able to find some funding for them a number of times. We've got there's another club down in Sydney Road. There's a number. We've got a very rich community, as I mentioned earlier, but there are a number of Greek clubs, and I've always supported it.
And close affiliations, I should say, Oscar, with a lot of soccer clubs. For example, the Olympiakos program that is run locally at your area is also a club that you have very strong ties with.
Yeah, look, I mean, George Slafiris, a very, very good mate of mine who was the president of Glenroy Lions, I've known George for many years, but also Frank and all the guys down at the club there. It's an incredible club. To be honest, it's got a really good family.
The Glenroy Lions, yeah?
Yeah, the Glenroy Lions there. Yeah. And that club, look, it is... it's in need of some support, and I'm hoping if I do get re-elected, and they know where I stand with that club. And look, they're open to all nationalities and all backgrounds, and
obviously, yeah,
and
of course.
Yeah, and they do capture a massive sort of proportion of our northern part of Moreland into their club.
Right. Well, let's now go to the heavier stuff. Now, you took a stance. You took a stance, a very strong stance, against the Turkish government's decision to convert Hagia Sophia Church into a mosque. What happened? Can you take us back a bit and explain to us what is it that you said, what you stand for on this issue?
Look, to be honest, John, I've been to Turkey obviously a number of times. I've been to Greece, and Hagia Sophia has a long history, and for decades it's always remained as it was, and I just felt that it's probably unnecessary to make any changes to it. I mean, you think about the tourism, you think about what the Hagia Sophia stands for, and Turkey for many decades, and if not centuries, has been open to all nationalities and all religious backgrounds, and they still do, but I just felt that was probably not needed at this time when the world is going through some massive challenges. And one thing I'll never forget, John, is in Turkey, Istanbul, you've got a church, a mosque and a synagogue side by side, and that to me signifies that, hey, Turkey is moving forward, Turkey is about being open to the rest of the world, but then the president comes out and does this, and it's like you've just taken 3 steps forward to take 25 steps back. And I just thought, I've been to the Hagia Sophia, and Ataturk at the time said, no, we're going to build a mosque around it, but we're not going to destroy anything inside. I don't think they've destroyed any of the monuments inside or any of the history inside, and they shouldn't. But
they just covered it up and protected it, so to speak. But
yeah,
but it's fundamental. It's fundamental. Use as a mosque at the moment is very insulting to many, if not to all Orthodox Christians around the world, and Christians in general, I should say. And the entire world came out and spoke their mind to your Turkish president, to no avail, of course. Okay, well, that's point taken.
Look, look. At the end of the day, John, if there weren't enough mosques in the area, I'd say, well, I've got respect for all religions, Muslim, Catholic, Orthodox, doesn't matter. For me, Dad's always brought us up that you must respect and treat everyone the way you want to be treated. But I just felt that there are many mosques in Istanbul who I certainly have respect for, but I just felt that the Hagia Sophia probably should have been left the way it always had been, and yeah, that was just my own opinion. But again, how much do I look into international politics? To be honest, I try and focus on
obviously, as a councillor, it's not something that you would be involved with. But there are issues that do concern your, people in your area, whether they're Greek or whatever. I mean, there's the other issue of the genocide of the Armenian and the Greek genocide that occurred there. That is a very major issue for many people. And of course, as a councillor, it is not in your, you're not in a position to solve these issues. You can express your opinion, however, just so people can understand where you stand on in general matters. However, there are those issues that are pressing for your people in your council. Talk to us a bit about what your stance is on the local issues of your council.
Look, John, always whether I've been on the Greek radio, whether it's 3AW and ABC, I've always tried to focus on the issues that people elect their councillors to do. Absolutely. I mean, no doubt about it. We provide so many different services, but I think we need to just focus on getting our roads, rubbish correct, and make sure that they're all 100% to the expectation of our residents. And then anything besides that, I mean, I'm very passionate about sport. I'm very passionate about making sure that our community centres, our elderly are being looked after through our Meals on Wheels and home maintenance and personal care. Of course, I'm really passionate about our capital works project in terms of making sure our nature strips and our curbs and irrigation and our footpaths and drainage and all that's all up to scratch. Installing more playground equipment, more public toilets, bike paths, looking after our young, making sure that there isn't too much overdevelopment. Sustainability is important too, John. I mean, we gave away over 4,000 free green bins over the last 7 months. We're planting over 16,000 trees. Making sure that our bike paths, making sure that we're supporting state government initiatives in terms of removing key crossings. There's so I could go on and on, but
I'm sure. If you don't mind me interrupting, one of the major issues that has a lot to do with the current situation that we're in with the coronavirus pandemic, and of course its devastating effects on the economy, local economies as well, all around Melbourne, is the rates. And what exactly is your council's stance at the moment on the increase of the rates? Have they gone ahead with it?
I'm glad you've asked me that question, because honestly it's not a Doris to Dixer where we planned any of these questions, but the question about rates, I mean, we've got 11 councillors, John, and only 4 of those councillors voted to freeze rates, and I was one of them. And you're not supposed to really publicly declare which way you're going to vote, but I did a few hours before the vote say that I will not be supporting any rate increase. Unfortunately, 4 out of the 11 voted to freeze the rates, and we lost the motion. So rates did slightly increase in Moreland.
Well, and 2%?
2%, that's correct. And it's capped anyway, John. So really, most councils shouldn't be increasing it over 2. Some have, but I was pretty disappointed, to be honest. I mean, we're in the most...
You would have imagined. I mean, it is one... Let me tell you, Oscar, it is one of the very pressing issues at the moment. People not having extra burdens, financial burdens, when their life has been devastated financially, if not in other aspects as well. So that is something that is quite disappointing, I believe, for your constituents.
Yeah, look, I mean, the constituents can. I guess one positive thing out of all this is that they can, in fact, defer their rates. We have allowed residents to defer their rates until June next year without any interest charges, John. So if there are residents listening to this thinking, I can't afford to pay my rates, that's fine. We do have a hardship
It just
policy.
Accumulates, though. I mean, it's different to have a reduction. The reduction is really, money that you don't have to fork out. Having to do it at the later stages is okay. It is an option that will allow people to breathe a little bit, but at the end of the day, they're still going to pay, aren't they?
Yeah, and
it's nothing that you can do. However, it is something that it was interesting to find out your stance on that, and you did vote to freeze the increase, so that is good to know.
And look, the reason why I did do it, honestly, is, I mean, we're in unprecedented times, probably the most challenging times of our lives, and if we're going to do it, this is when you do it. And it's disappointing that only 4 decided to freeze the rates.
Right. Okay, Oscar Asteriadis or Yildiz, is there a message that you want to send before we end this great interview to our great community listeners listening to you at the moment?
I'm going to try this. Ελπίζω ότι ο ανθρωποί μη υποστηριζούν. I think I got that right.
Ελπίζω ότι οι άνθρωποι θα με υποστηρίξουν. Yes? I hope people will believe me. Will support me, yeah? Okay. Well, let's see. You are on Greek radio, the biggest Greek radio there is in Australia, and people are listening to you. They heard your side and what you stand for, so let's see what they do. Good luck in the upcoming elections, Oscar. Thank you for taking the time and talking to us.
Thank you. Adieu, Yasu.
Yasu. Bye. Bye.